Everyone, welcome to CSP's Next Step series, Prepare for Your Next Step. This is session number 2, which is looking at resumes. My name is Esther. I'm a career advisor, and my coworker Andrew Mayer, who is the Director of Career Development, is also in on the Zoom call today. So if you have any questions during the presentation, you can either put it in the chat box and she will look at them and answer them, or feel free to save them for the end and in our Q&A portion. Going over some logistics of this series. So we meet weekly on Fridays from 12 to 1 p.m. Central Time. There are 8 sessions in this series. The first half hour will be a presentation. The last half hour will be a Q&A or a workshop portion. All sessions will be recorded, just the delivery part, not the Q&A, and we will not record any attendee information. And these videos will be posted on our website as well. And like always, you do not have to attend every session. Feel free to register on Handshake for the ones that interest you. Going through our weekly topics, today we'll be going over creating or updating a resume. Just a few reminders on week 5 or session 5 on October 30th. We do have our upcoming Minnesota government and nonprofit job and internship fair. You should have received an email yesterday that describes the fair and how to register. And another reminder for week session 7 on November 13th, be sure to register if you're interested in a mock interview with an employer. Register by October 23rd. And also, only the first 20 students are registered are able to participate, so make sure you do so ahead of time. So looking at our agenda, we're going to be going over why resumes are important, how to format your resume, and then discussing your experiences and how to include that into a resume. So looking at these 2 presents, let's pretend there's the newest iPhone that is gifted to you, one of these presents, in both presents. Which one would you select to keep? Obviously, we choose number 2. It's neatly wrapped. It doesn't look damaged. The first one has tape everywhere. It's super messy. Number 2 is just more presentable. When you're giving your resume to an employer, you also want to make sure it looks presentable and nice and neat like that second present, because your first impressions matter a lot. You want to make sure your first impression is good, that captures the employer's attention. You're able to differentiate yourself from other applicants, and you can show that you're a valuable add to their organization from what you display on your resume. So what is it? Why do you need it? To document that highlights your skills as they are related to the employer's needs. It reflects your achievements, your rewards, education experience, and any other accomplishments that align with your career goals and your career path. How you structure your resume and what information you include will help you land your first interview. This is a study done by Glassdoor, and on average, every corporate job opening will attract 250 resumes, so 250 applicants. Only 4 to 6 on average of these people will be called for an interview, and only 1 will get the job. So looking at this, it seems very daunting, but at the same time, this is why you need to make sure your resume is great and ready to go when you're applying for jobs, so you can land that interview and then land that job. So jumping into what to include on your resume, first, I want you to just take some time right now. You can write this down, you can type it out, you can just think about it. Think about what goes into your resume. These can be anything from job experiences, any past full-time jobs, part-time jobs. These can be different volunteer experiences. Have you volunteered to feed my starving children? Have you volunteered at the Boys and Girls Club, at church, at a food bank? Think about any past internship experiences. Did you do a summer internship at some point? Did you do one during the semester? A micro internship? Think about any academic awards or achievements you've accomplished, whether that was with academics, with music, with athletics. Think about your athletic involvement. Are you currently an athlete? Are you involved in intramurals? Think about any clubs or organizations that you're a part of on campus. You can include these as well. Are you involved with Ignite Leadership? And then any travel abroad experiences that you've done through school, any mission trips. Doing a brain dump of all these things is just an easy way for you to look at what you have done. You're able to see what you can include on your resume through that. Also, as you're thinking about your experiences, look at what skills you gained from these experiences. According to NACE, the National Association of Colleges and Employers, it's an organization that's made up of different college career centers and employers to kind of give their input as to what's happening in the career trends. They've identified some top skills that employers are currently seeking from their employees or from applicants. Looking at the list here, you probably all have had experience within these skills: problem solving, communication, leadership, adaptability, flexibility. You're doing that already. So it's important for you to reflect on how you're doing that and where you're doing that and how to include that onto your resume. So a good 40% of hiring managers spend less than a minute reviewing a resume. This is good to know because you want to make sure you're able to display your top skills and strengths related to the job you're applying for in order to capture the employer's attentions right away. You want to make it stand out. So next, we will move on to formatting your resume. Feel free to pull out your resume, have it on your computer screen, or mark it up if you have it printed out. Make edits, make changes. This is the time for you to work on it and do a workshop. And if you have questions at the end, feel free to ask us or put in the chat as I'm talking. So looking at how to format a resume, this is a pretty typical example of how it could look. It's very simple. Unless you're a graphic design major or an art major, you want to keep it pretty simple for employers to look through quickly. According to Career Builder, an estimated 77% of hiring managers immediately disqualify resumes because of grammatical errors, mistakes, or typos. So when you're formatting your resume, some tips before we begin on the sections. Make sure it's consistent. Make sure your margins are between 1 to a ½ inch margins. It's single spaced. If you want to bold certain headings, you bold all those headings. If you want to italicize dates, you italicize all dates. Make sure it's consistent. I'm going to keep it at 1 to 2 pages, 2 at the most, if they're all related experience, preferably 1. Choose a font style that's easy to read, so Arial, Times New Roman, Calibri. Choose a font size that's easy to read, so 11 to 12 at the smallest. And then make sure your name is the largest at the top. No personal pronouns, so no I, me, or my. And then make sure you spell check and you proofread at the very end. It's so important. I also recommend you send it to a friend or someone who knows you well in case you missed anything that you should have pointed out. So starting with the very top of your resume, which is your heading, you want to start with your first and last name in the largest font size. Then jumping into your phone number, you want to make sure that your voicemail message is set up, that it's professional. And also that your voicemail inbox is cleared out as well, so employers can leave messages in case they call. With your email, make sure it's professional. You can use your CSP email or a personal one, just make sure it's professional. Your name is great. You want to include a current address or an address that includes a location of where you're searching for jobs, so employers know where you're located at. And then if you have any personal websites or a LinkedIn profile, feel free to include that in this section as well. Next is a summary and objective section. This is an optional portion to have. Adding one to your resume is a quick way for you to call out your most relevant qualifications for a specific job or just a goal that you have in mind. Notice to be around 1 to 2 lines if you're doing an objective, or 3 to 4 bullet points if you're doing a summary. So an example objective could be customer service professional with 4+ years of experience in the retail industry, with experience in marketing, merchandising, and inventory management. It's a quick way for employers just to see your top skills and your experience as they're going through your resume. Next is your education section. In this section, you want to list any degrees you've obtained, whether it's an Associate of Arts degree or your bachelor's or your master's and so on. You want to list it out as Bachelor of Science and so, or Bachelor of Arts and so. You're listing your degrees out. Include your expected graduation date or when you did graduate, this institution name, the city it's located in, and then if you have a GPA that's above a 3.0, I suggest adding it. It's up to you. It's not a big deal if you don't. If you have any minors, feel free to add that as well. And then any certifications you might have, feel free to add it here as well. So next is your experiences portion. This will look different for everyone. So do not compare to someone next to you because you get to create your own sections. A lot of people will have work experience or related experience as their sections. Some of you might have more volunteer experiences or more on-campus experiences. It is up to you and your involvement to determine what goes in this section. So I have some examples of section titles up here. It can be relevant experiences, volunteer experiences, work experiences, awards and honors, certificates, memberships, technical skills, and so on. As you're listing your experience, you want to make sure you put the job title you held. So examples down here, probation and parole officer or head decorator. You want to put the dates you worked. You want to put the organization or company you worked for and then their city that it was located in. And then you want to list 3 to 5 bullet points summarizing what you did there, highlighting any big projects you've done or anything you want to tell employers to kind of show off who you are and your top strengths. So we're going to focus more on just the experience portion. So one way to help you start these statements that you want to list under experiences is using a strong action verb. This is listed on our website. If you go to our website at csp.edu/career development, you can look up the resume 101 portion and find a list of action verbs that are similar to this. It's an easy way for you to just start off your sentence strong. Another way for you to get started with writing a skill statement under your experiences is to do this skill statement chart. You look at your job that you worked at, the tasks you did in that job, and the skills you gained. So for example, let's say you're a cupcake decorator, you worked for a part-time job in college. Your main jobs were to fill orders and then decorate cupcakes. So within filling orders, you have to communicate with the front staff, with bakers and customers, and that kind of shows off your communication skills. You also have to ensure things were being done correctly. So you have to work on a team to make sure that was happening. And within decorating cupcakes, you have to maintain inventory so you have enough supplies. That requires communication skills as well. And then you have to train new members on techniques and on different rules of decorating, and that shows your leadership skills. Feel free to refer to the transferable skills list I had earlier from NACE to kind of help guide that. Another easy way to write a skill statement is using a chart like this. Let's say you are working at a company as a social media manager. You can pick a fancy or a strong action verb from that list. So I chose created and collaborated. How did you do it? Why did you do it? So I work in a team. I had to determine the best social media strategy for the company. And then looking at skills you gain, teamwork and communication. So your skill statement can be as simple as collaborated with a team to produce a social media strategy for a local arts-based nonprofit. And that is one bullet point you can put under that job. When you're writing these skill statements, you want to make sure you follow the STAR technique. So what this means, it's situation, task, action, and result. When you're writing any statements, you want to make sure you hit all 4 points, and most people forget the result portion, which shows employers what you actually accomplished as a result. So for example, let's say you worked at a sporting goods store. You can say you sold sporting equipment. But the best way to say that could be develop effective sales strategies that resulted in a 10% increase of sales. You can see it shows the situation, the task you had to do, the action, and then the result was there was a 10% increase of sales. So when you're writing your statements, think about how you can build them up to include all 4 tactics. It's also very important for you to quantify your experience. As you can see in the last example, there was a percentage, so there was a quantifiable result. So let's go back to the social media example I had earlier. Instead of just saying help run a social media account or help with promotions, you can say you helped run a social media account and helped it to reach 14,000 followers. Or a lot of the times, Facebook, Instagram has statistics and analytics that you can look at. So you can look at a promotion that you ran, and then let's say it told you it reached over 15,000 people on Instagram or on Facebook. You can include that within your the experience section. This will allow employers to understand the value that you can bring to the company because they've seen an example of what you have done previously. And then one last tip for you as you're writing your experience section, because it can be hard at times to think of, oh gosh, what do I write? How does it relate to the job I want? Look at the job description you're applying to. Match your experiences to the job description. What I mean by this is as you're looking at the job description, so for example, look at this youth development coordinator position at the YMCA. It tells you, most job descriptions will tell you a list of functions they want you to have or skills they want you to have ahead of time. So this one says, someone who can provide quality customer service to members, volunteers, and participants. Think of your past jobs. What have you done that has provided quality customer service? Maybe you work at a restaurant as a server. Maybe you work in retail. Maybe you work as a front desk assistant and you have to face customers every day. As you're writing your experience descriptions, connect that so that employers can see, oh, they have worked with customers. Or, oh, they have worked, let's say, with planning special events, because that's another requirement they want someone to have who's applying for this youth development coordinator position. To wrap it all up, you want to make sure you build yourself up. A lot was thrown at you today. Don't forget, this is your chance to build yourself up, to let employers know what you can offer to their organization, and hopefully this helps you land that interview. You want to make sure they are aware that you'd be a great addition, and your resume is the first step into showing them why. So that's it for today. Next week, our session will be over tips on networking and navigating LinkedIn. So if you're interested in that, be sure to register on Handshake for that. And if you have any questions, like always, feel free to contact us at careerdevelopment@csb.edu or stop by our office in Polar 124 or make an appointment through our phone. If you have any questions now, feel free to ask them or feel free to put it in the